This week, we drive the Bentley Bentayga, Mahindra's NuvoSport, and a Lamborghini Huracan LP580-2.
In the dim and distant past, off-roaders were crude and rough around the edges. Then Range Rover came along and changed all that. Today, Bentley with the Bentayga wants to take it to the next level. We're in Palm Springs for the day. We have the Bentayga with us. Let's see what super luxury SUV really is. What sets the tone are the imposing looks. It has the sheer bulk, the lofty height, and the requisite bling to get your attention instantly. Just look at that chromed over mesh grille. And the double barrel headlights, they work superbly. Still, the design of the nose could have been a bit cleaner and a bit more characterful. The rest of the design, however, hits the spot. I love the tightness of the flanks, the exaggerated haunches, and I really like that raked or fast rear windshield too. Even the chrome lined taillights, they remind us of old school Bentleys and even Rolls Royces, and that makes it look a little bit more special. Under the skin is the Volkswagen Group MLB Evo platform, the same as you get on the Q7. What's different on this car is that it has an all-new anti-roll bar at the back. It's electrically assisted, and this car for the first time uses a 48-volt system. The electric system has tremendous power, it's really quick, and it helps it manage this huge mass and bulk beautifully. You expect the interior of every Bentley to be reeking of old world charm. And the Bentayga doesn't disappoint. So as you can see on the inside, opulence of the highest order, wood, leather, and every metal piece here is chromed. Of course, there are a few things which aren't really up to the standard. This touchscreen system is a bit archaic, and the black plastic buttons, well, they could have been much nicer. But at the rear, where most owners are likely to be sat, the ambience is much nicer. There isn't a huge amount of legroom in the back. There's enough. But what Bentley have done smartly is taken these wonderful front seats and put them in the back. They're like 27,000 ways adjustable. You get all the comfort of the front seat, lovely support for the back, lovely support for the thighs, and a lot of nice touches. Nice screen here for a change. You get Bluetooth headphones, you get this remote control that controls most things on the car from the back. Really nice touch. And of course, these vents with the pull and push type adjusters. Really neat. It doesn't just look and feel like a super luxury car, it even drives like one. Yes, it is an off-roader, but it doesn't seem to carry the baggage of all that heavy weight. As with many of these super luxury cars, the ride is imperious. It's all-absorbing and there's absolutely no sound. It's silent. What Bentley have done is also put a layer of insulation between you and the road. It's silent, it's soft, it's supple, and the great thing is that even when you build up speed, there isn't really any bounce or any looseness. Really fantastic. On these super luxury cars, what you are looking for is a lot of refinement, and this W12 twin turbo is quite silent till around 2.5 or 3,000 RPM. Of course, it's not quite as silent as Maybach's V12, which is probably the most silent one of the lot right now, but it is pretty amazing. And what's great is all the punch and torque you have on offer, even though you can't hear it. Just touch the throttle and woof, you're away. What Bentley also stands for is massive torque, effortless pulling power, and raw performance. Of course, this is a Bentley, so the punch and the performance has to be there. And lean your foot, and it just goes. Oof. Remember, this is a steep incline, and this car's just been hurled up like there's a gorilla, King Kong, holding the car and throwing it forward. It's just amazing. And the other thing this car does brilliantly is take care of all the mass. That 48-volt system, that active anti-roll bar in the rear, it makes the car feel tight and stable, like it's a small hatch. I know it sounds ridiculous to say that, but this really drives like a pointy small hatch. It really is something special. Bentley has taken the luxury SUV a fair step forward. It has an absolute dynamite of an engine. The new W12 twin turbo is just scream personified. The ride and handling is something else. They've got a new anti-roll bar at the back, which makes it perfect. The interiors, they have that old charm, the old wood and leather luxury charm. This SUV, however, is expected to cost in the region of 4 crore rupees. And there are a couple of things that probably don't stack up at that price. When it does come to India, there are likely to be more than a few people interested, even though it costs the same as a Rolls-Royce Ghost.
Coming up ahead, Mahindra's new compact SUV, the NuvoSport.
What I have here with me today is the NuvoSport, yet another compact SUV from Mahindra & Mahindra. What it is essentially a rehashed Quanto. But M&M tell us they've got an entirely new chassis, they've put in a new engine. Does it make it new? Well, we're here at the test track in Nashik to take a short first drive and find out. What does make it look quite new and different is the brand new face. The front end sees the most changes with a large bumper split into 2 sections that raises the bonnet line quite high. There's a 4 metal skid plate at its chin leading into a honeycomb air dam split by the body color metal from the vertical slatted grille. The grille is then flanked by headlamps with 2 LED brows. The strong muscular look ends with a scoop in the bonnet to feed air into the new top-mounted intercooler. Around the side, the proportions remain the same with an identical wheelbase, and the only real change are the bigger 16-inch alloys. The rear tailgate gets a new stylized cover for the wheel. As for the cabin, well, the interior looks all too familiar and it's pretty much the same. Of course, the biggest difference that we notice is this touchscreen right here sitting at the center of the console. It's really largely the 6.2-inch touchscreen and the steering wheel with controls mounted atop that are new. Aside from the navigation, it's got all the features that you expect, but the interface tells you it's very clearly an aftermarket unit. The seats also get new leatherette upholstery, but other than that, not much is new. The plastics feel outdated, as does the design, especially when you consider what else would be available at its price. Well, it still remains a very spacious middle row to be in. As you can see, I have loads of legroom. The floorboard is nice and flat, so 3 passengers are always going to be comfortable over here. There's a good amount of headroom too. You sit nice and high, so visibility is also very good. But there is one problem. When you do make this into a 7-seater and the rear seats are up, you find that you sit very, very upright in the middle row because you can't recline the backrest. But if you don't have 7 seats, then you can get pretty comfortable over here. Apart from the TUV 300, this is the only other sub-4 meter SUV to offer 7 seats. And Mahindra claims the NuvoSport is even more spacious than its sibling. So this is how it is as a 7-seater version. Now I've got the rear seats up. And small and compact, so getting in here for me was quite easy, and fitting here is not too bad. I mean, I think I could survive for a short journey. But I'm going to show you how difficult it is when there's a slightly taller, bigger person. I'm going to call Rayo in. Rayo, come in here and get in here with me. As you can see, it's not that easy for him to get in here. And Rayo is sitting here with a bit of a crick in his neck and smiling at me because his head is touching the roof. So I think taller people, big no-no. This is just for small, compact people. Come and take a look at how he is in here.
Taller people are best seated within the cabin that's spacious and airy. The front seats are large and comfortable, and there's loads of cubby holes for storage too. So in that sense, the cabin is pretty practical.
So it's a nice and high seating position, and the visibility is good. You have nice commanding view of the road. But what you really don't have a view of is the ends of the car, and that can get a bit disconcerting. Especially that left-hand corner is just invisible.
This can be a little bit of a hindrance, especially when you're parking the car or maneuvering it in smaller spaces. We said earlier, the engine is also new.
So this is essentially the same engine that's in the TUV, the 1.5 litre M-Hawk, but it's been recalibrated for this car. It's got 100 bhp, but it feels pretty much the same. I mean, the biggest strength of this engine really is its tractability. It's the way you can amble around in higher gears at lower RPMs. You can almost come to a standstill and then just put your foot down and get a move on without any hesitation. So you can really be a lazy driver, and it'll make driving in the city, in traffic, easy.
The NuvoSport doesn't really feel sporty, but it pulls nicely off the line and gets up to triple-digit speeds very comfortably too. In fact, this engine revs more freely, and you can go up to about 4,700 or 4,800 RPM. But after 3,800, it's like stretching chewing gum. You get the best out of this engine by short shifting. It responds better to gentle dabs of the throttle than flat footing.
You really don't have to work the gears too much, and that's a good thing because the gear shift is a bit rubbery.
The engine is clearly tuned for efficiency, and it's possibly the reason why M&M claim that it serves up 17.4 kilometers per litre. Of course, that figure is when you use the Eco mode that remaps this engine to work more efficiently. This M-Hawk engine also feels more refined than before, but it's still quite audible, especially when you go up the revs. Now, the test track at Nashik is really small and not the best testing ground, but even while going around it, we found out a bit about the dynamics.
The steering is a bit inconsistent, and there's a fair amount of roll as well around the corners. So this car is best driven in a relaxed manner.
That is not necessarily a negative, it just means that the NuvoSport is not the kind of car enthusiasts would like, but would probably appeal more to the practical minded.
Essentially, this is first impressions, and we're just driving on the test track, so it's impossible to talk about the ride. But we do have a small sort of cobblestone patch over here, which we can go over. So the ride on this little patch of cobblestone that we have on the test track, what I can say is it does have a soft edge that tends to mask the bumps and potholes, but there's a lot of movement. So I feel that if you are on an undulating road and going a bit quicker, you will get tossed around at the back.
That's an inherent problem of a car that's higher off the ground and sitting body on frame. It's never going to be as settled as a monocoque. Still, we do have to say that this chassis that's shared with the Scorpio has made it better than before in its ride quality. Apart from the engine and chassis that's changed, the NuvoSport will also now come with an AMT version.
It pulls quite nicely, this auto box. What it's going to do is really make driving in traffic and in city conditions easy for you. Now, it is an AMT, so the shifts are perceptible. You do know when it's shifting up or down. It's not exactly smooth. But I have to say that it is an improvement from the earlier TUV, which was very hesitant.
The AMTs, however, are inherently bad at tackling hill starts, so how does this one fare?
Now where this AMT does get caught out a little bit is when you try going up a slope. And we have a bit of a test slope here on the track, so I'm going to give it a shot. Stop and then, okay. It's not exactly happy to go over. It does tend to roll back a bit before it gets going, and that is disconcerting.
Well, overall, the NuvoSport is a new and improved version of the Quanto. It does look nicer, performs and rides better, and even refinement levels have improved. But it still lacks in certain key areas and simply doesn't have the finesse to compete with some of the other sub 4 meters around.
Well, despite there being a lot of new things about this rehashed Quanto, including the name NuvoSport, essentially it feels very similar as a product. Now here's the thing, Mahindra and Mahindra already have a compact SUV sitting in this segment, the TUV300. Well, there is going to be an overlap between these two, and even though we know that this one is going to be priced slightly above and have a lot more features, as products they're very similar in profile. So what this leaves us with is something to mull over. Was there really need for yet another compact SUV in M&M's portfolio? But what it leaves you with is more choice.
And after this break, the Lamborghini Huracan LP580-2, driven on track.
This is a Lamborghini Huracan. And it's a car we at Autocar India are quite familiar with by now. We gave it a thorough test when it was first launched. We've driven it on some seriously great roads, including all the way up to Khardungla. It took home our Performance Car of the Year award last year, and we even raced it against a fighter jet. So why am I driving it once again? Well, that's because this Huracan is a little bit different. Launched in November last year, this is the LP580-2, and if you speak fluent Bolognese, you'll know that means the lower powered version of the Huracan. How do you tell it apart? Well, it certainly looks as sexy as ever, with just a few subtle changes to the bumpers, wheels and brakes. The LP580-2 is 30 horsepower down on the standard LP610-4, but it's also about 33 kgs lighter. And more importantly, it's not four-wheel drive, it's rear-wheel drive. Lamborghini has brought us all the way to Taiwan to let its new baby loose. But there's just one problem. Very, very loud. When you're in a Lambo on a racetrack and they tell you to go flat out, you go flat out. And that can be a little distracting when you're trying to do a review. So apologies if this test is a little short on facts. Yes, fighting with this car right now. Be brave. Be brave, G. What I can also assure you of is that you won't be wanting for power. Yes, it is 30 bhp down on the four-wheel drive car, but honestly, I don't think you can feel it at all. So the nose definitely feels a bit lighter when you're really pushing it, and that's because of course there are no front drive shafts this time around. And as you probably heard just a second ago there, it's not lacking in noise at all, is it? Whew. Well, now that the madness has died down a little bit, I can definitely tell you that this car is no less manic than the 610-4 version with four-wheel drive. In fact, if anything, it's a little bit crazier. At 2.99 crore rupees, it costs 40 lakh less than the LP680-4. That's almost good value for a supercar. And trust me when I say this, the LP580-2 is not a lesser Lamborghini.
No, it's not over just yet. There's still more to come on the Autocar show, and we're going to New York, where the World Car of the Year awards were recently presented. Well, this is truly a global award because 73 motoring journalists from across the world vote on this, and 7 of them are from India. And this year, 50 cars were up for contention of top honors. Now, these are the cars that made it to the top in each category. The Green Car of the Year award goes to the Toyota Mirai. The Luxury Car of the Year award goes to the BMW 7 Series. The Performance Car of the Year award goes to the Audi R8. And the top honor for this year, the World Car of the Year, is the Mazda MX-5. And with that, it's a wrap on this packed episode of the Autocar Show.